Coming up on Another Thing, scandal politics. It works, but is it hurting the process? Fighting heroin by charging the dealers with murder. Dawn talks with a woman who will help you to get your family eat healthier, whether they like it or not. And my commentary is on the media and the lies they tell. But first, scandal politics, also called gotcha politics. It's where a campaign does opposition research and then leaks information to the media and they gobble it up. We're seeing it play out today. Hillary Clinton's email scandal, Chris Christie and Bridgegate, and you'll remember Mitt Romney and the 47%, and it happens in local elections too. Ellen Kolodziej talks to a political strategist about why campaigns do this and how much it hurts the process. Ellen.
It does seem like we hear about another political scandal almost every week in this country, whether it's Hillary Clinton and her email crisis, or Governor Chris Christie and his ongoing problems with Bridgegate, or the most recent scandal involving Senator Robert Menendez of New Jersey and allegations of corruption. But one political analyst here in Philadelphia says these scandals are nothing new, it's how the media covers them.
So something that might not have been considered a scandal 15 years ago is a scandal now, and also because of how prevalent the internet is and bloggers and whatever, that people can just put things up that they might know, and then it gets picked up by mainstream media.
Larry Seisler used to work in politics but got out because he says it's a nasty business. Now he runs Seisler Media and Issue Advocacy. He believes today's leaks come from everywhere: your opponent, grand juries, even law enforcement.
There's certainly this, gotcha mentality, whether it be with the media or politically, because we have, such acrimony in our politics, either on the left or the right, that people are going to seize on things and make a big deal out of it that maybe years ago wouldn't have been a big deal.
Take Senator Robert Menendez. He faces 14 criminal charges, including 8 counts of bribery. He vows to fight and says his enemies are out to get him.
I'm outraged that prosecutors at the Justice Department were tricked into starting this investigation 3 years ago with false allegations by those who have a political motive to silence me.
Now, Senator Menendez says this scandal will not force him to resign, but he has stepped down as the top Democrat on the Foreign Relations Committee. And experts say we can expect to see a lot more of these scandals as the presidential primaries start heating up. Reporting for Another Thing, I'm Ellen Kolodziej.
All right, thank you, Ellen. It's called gotcha politics, the idea of going after somebody on scandals and characters and not on the issues, and it has dominated some of the more recent national campaigns. The question is it good for the process? And how do we get out of it if it's not? To talk more about that is Ken Hunter, who is the president and chief strategist of Powerstation Communications, and also Michael Phillips-Anderson, who is a professor of political communications at Monmouth University. Thank you both for being here. Thanks. I want to start with this question. Every time you see a scandal about a politician in the front page of the Washington Post, front page of the New York Times, and I'll start with you, how many times do you think that comes from opposition research, and how many times do you think that the journalist actually did the digging?
It comes quite often. I remember talking with a former colleague who worked in one of the houses who did the public relations for one of the parties. He told me one of the key things he learned is it's really a game of gotcha. Somebody misspeaks, somebody has a gaffe, you're all over it, you're sending out press releases, you're calling your friends in the press. And that's where the public starts to get the feeling of politics as a cesspool. That's all they're caring about, trying to do gotcha type stories. And so that ends up being really a thing that can cripple a political candidate right from the get-go.
So the question is, if it really hurts the process and it creates this image problem, why do it? And I guess the answer is it works.
The point of it is that you can win with it, right? It may hurt the process, but if the process is winning the campaign, then it can be effective, right? I mean, we have a long history of this. There's a story, it may be apocryphal, but that when Lyndon Johnson was running for Congress, he was behind. He told his press aide to tell the reporters that a very inappropriate innuendo about his opponent. He said, Lyndon, we can't say that. We don't have any proof of that. And he said, I know. I just want to make him deny it, right? Because he knows if you're denying, you're losing.
Yeah, it's the old, how long have you beaten your wife? And there's no way you can answer that question and not come off looking bad. I was interested in what you said a moment ago about trying to catch somebody on camera. We all remember Mitt Romney, that probably did him in, the 47% remark. It's become standard practice now to make certain that you follow your opponent around with the camera just for that moment.
Yeah, and especially with bloggers out there. Christie does a town hall. Those tend to all be, covered by the press. But he could just be walking outside. Somebody walks up with their camera and tries to gotcha journalism them. They're a blogger. They're not, say, classically trained reporter. You can see how that's really gone and seeped into society of trying to do that. It kind of goes back to 60 Minutes. A lot of people would think, wow, I'm going to have Mike Wallace show up whenever I'm doing anything in the press, and he's going to crucify me. You say, no, that is only a certain slice. However, it's a slice that gets huge ratings, and that's what your opposition's trying to get.
Yeah, but you're taking one of the pinnacles of journalism. Now what you're talking about is some conservative advocate who has a blog can run out with his iPhone, catch you saying something stupid, and all of a sudden it becomes viral and it torpedoes your campaign. So it absolutely has changed. Let's talk about two recent cases. Let's talk about the Hillary Clinton email scandal and Bridgegate, because I think that they're two interesting studies. Do you think they both came from opposition research? Or from the opposition to start with? I know it's difficult to say. It's almost an unfair question.
Sure. No, we can't say for sure. But it is likely that somebody who would stand to gain from that knowledge being out would send that information, right? Now, that could be direct political opposition. It could be somebody in that candidate's own group who is feeling disaffected and is thinking that they may be on the outs on their way out of doing it.
Just being on the receiving end of these phone calls, it's rarely the latter.
Right. But I think, for instance, with the Hillary Clinton email scandal, part of it is these things stick if it fits into a narrative that the press already has about the candidate or about the politician. If it seems totally incongruous, it might get a little play but then disappear. With Hillary's, the idea that it's of being secretive, of holding back documents, of not wanting to be as public, the email story fits into that narrative. With Chris Christie, the idea of being a bully, of pushing people around, of seeking political retribution, Bridgegate fits into that narrative, and then so the story has legs and can be effective as a tool to hurt that
That's a great
politician.
point. And Romney, the 47%, and Dan Quayle, potatoes. Every time it fits into a narrative. I guess the question becomes, because this dominates the political discussion so much, can we get out of it? I mean, it's going to be here forever. It doesn't seem like when you think about campaigns, you think about the issues at all. It's always these moments. How does it end? Does it?
I think it requires a shift in voter mentality, because at a certain point, voters will get sick and tired of it. I kind of liken it to taking a cross-country car drive with your kids from grade school sitting in the back seat. It's like, boy, Savannah touched me. No, Jillian's breathing on me. You get to the point, I'm going to pull this car over. That's what voters will need to do.
Ken Hunter, who is the president and chief strategist at Powerstation Communications, thank you, Ken, and also Michael Phillips-Anderson, who is a professor of political communications at Monmouth University. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. When we come back, the heroin epidemic that has gripped the entire area. There is a unique way of fighting it, and you're going to ask yourself the question, why hasn't this been done before? When we come back on Another Thing.